Well, I can tell you, I think last session was my first time as mayor, and it's kind of a different feeling going into being a mayor into the legislative building than a private lobbyist. Um, and I kind of got my feet wet, and this session's probably going to be a little bit more difficult. As a matter of fact, even though I have some private clients that I'll be helping out this session, I only take clients that have no conflict with the city. And so, but I do think that a large part of my time will be probably mayor lobbying. So it'll be some, as I often say, time is not my friend particularly during a legislative session. I have in my private business, even my regular business is government relations, administrative law. That's what I do in my private law. But I have a rule with my law firm that my city business comes first, no matter what, and so that's how I practice.
And so this upcoming session, what are the main issues facing Carson City and other local and other cities in Nevada?
I think that there's no doubt that this session is going to be one of the more difficult ones for local government that we've ever seen. I think already we're seeing some move by the legislature, and I think even the governor, although nobody really knows where anybody is just yet on these things. But I think that we met with our local legislators yesterday, and handed them out a list of the areas where we thought they were going to try and push services down onto us, and the answer back was, you're probably going to see something of all of those. And of course, that's going to be one of the bigger issues that we have is how we maneuver the city in terms of keeping us on an even keel, providing the services we currently provide, and then if we're told to provide additional services, there's a real question of how you do that, and the second question is how you fund those. I think the message I'd like to send to the legislature as the mayor is, we all live in Nevada. It's our state. We all want to see it progress, and to the extent we can help solve any of the problems, we want to be there. We want to be at the table, and we've been assured that by most everyone that we will be at the table, and we will do our level best to do what we can to help the state. On services, it's my advice that and I'll be telling this to the legislature as well, is that I think the first decision that the legislature should be making is, one, on every service, take a look at whether or not that's a good public service, and if it is, can it be run more efficiently by a local government? And two, if it can be, if it is an efficient service that's for the public good, how do you propose to fund it? Carson City, in my view, has done a pretty good job of weathering the storm so far. I mean, it seems like we're bumping along out of the sales tax. The economy started to percolate again here in Carson City, and we have our employee agreements in place. There's no COLAs, no merit increases in those. We're getting, we've laid off about 100 people in the last 4 years or so, cut our budget, and we're still able to, maintain a good quality of life and public services here. And we've done that very carefully. And as money's come in now, it's my recommendation to the city that we take any excess money we get and put it, build up our reserves again, build up our stabilization fund. If we get pushed with services that we're not currently providing and that we have to provide, or we have to send a check to the state, something else has to give, and I worry about that, because we need to be at the table. We need to be able to express our concerns as to how we can do things, and if we can't, we need to tell them. But the message is, we're not going to just say no. We're going to honestly take a look at everything that they say is going to help move our state forward, move us out of it, move us forward, and take it from there. We'll have to wait to see what the governor says and what the legislature says on the other side. I mean, to me, just looking at the numbers, I don't see how you can cut enough to make the budget balance. And so, and I don't think that's an unusual message. I think the Nevada Taxpayers Association has the same view, that at some point in time, even if you do cut the budget back to 2007, you can't cut the level of services back. I mean, because particularly in health and human services, the caseload, when you start to manage that caseload, you're talking about real people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it's difficult to do that under any circumstances. When you're talking about that level of cut moving back, it's even more difficult. And so my sense is that there's going to have to be something done on the revenue side. Now, what that is, I don't know. You know, I think, you know, clearly the budget issue is going to be the big one. You know, and down the line, I think is you know, redistricting is here as well. And you know, it's important that Carson City have representation. And you know, we want to be watching that one very carefully to see that that you know, to the extent we can, that you know, the capital has a representative. You know, the District 40 kind of stays around where it is. Whether that can happen or not, I don't know.
There's a potential that could change.
Well, I think that's, you know, the legislature. You know, there's 63 seats in there right now, and you know, they can go to 75 by the Constitution. And there are some who would say that if you don't expand the number of seats in the legislature, that you're going to see, you know, the South gain more seats, and when they gain more, they take some from up here, and so that'll either make the rural districts bigger, or and maybe lose some seats. And so we want to watch that. And it doesn't hurt for us to be local here. I mean, that's one of the benefits of being the capital, because you know, not that I'm any great shakes at it, but you know, it doesn't take a whole lot. We're having this interview, and I'm 2 or 3 blocks away from the legislature, and at the mayor's office I'm a block and a half away. So it's easier for us to get here, and it's easier for us to keep our finger on the pulse. And so, you know, I anticipate that you know, not only every supervisor, if they want to come down there, can lobby, but you know, they'll probably look at me to be down there and do what I'm going to do.
So from right now, looking down the road for the next you know, 6 or so months, are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic? Are you?
Well, I tell you what, I'm not going to be anything but optimistic.
Sure.
I mean, I would like to, you know, I think, you know, there are problems, and no problem is insurmountable. But I'll tell you, I'm not going to go into this legislative session being pessimistic, because I think that part of my message as mayor is, no matter how hard times get, you have to keep an optimistic. You have to keep optimistic, hopeful, aggressive outlook, and that's how we move things forward in the state. I mean, if you know, you've probably heard me say before, if we go in and we think, hey, we're in the tank and we're never going to get out, well, that's where we stay. You got to have the view that says, hey, the sun's coming up tomorrow. Let's get up and make the best we can. And you know, sometimes out of adversity, when times are tough, and you know, the issue, that's the time to make some of these broad changes that we need. And frankly, you know, my other message to the legislature is, we're not going to really solve Nevada problem unless we diversify our economy. You've heard that a lot, and to me, the diversification of our economy is directly linked to the diversification of our tax system in the state. And I think they're integrated, and I think that if we're smart about it, we can move this, take the position where we are now, and move this state forward. And the corollary to that, you know, is obviously you don't want to talk about, but I don't want to talk about, but we ought to look at everything we can as an opportunity and use it to the best of our advantage. And that's an optimistic way of looking at it. Not going to take anything different.